Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this talk, which is part of the Spot the Composer program. Today, I am pleased to welcome two music supervisors who will be telling you more about the wide-ranging activities that are part of their job. On stage with me, I have Pierre-Marie Dru, who founded your company, Piggle Production, in 2004, and you've been working as a music supervisor in France for more than 15 years. And your recent works include the Jacques Audiard movie Paris 13th District and Annette by Léos Carax, or the animated film I Lost My Body. You worked on two projects at Cannes this year, the animated film Le Petit Nicolas, which is premiering today, and the Olivier Assayas HBO series, Irma Vep, which is premiering here on Sunday. And joining us live from Los Angeles, I have Jen Malone. Hi, Jen. Can you hear us?
Good afternoon. Good morning.
It's just super early for you, so thank you for joining us live. Jen, you've been working as an independent music supervisor for almost a decade. Your most recent works include the ETV shows Euphoria, Atlanta, and you also worked on the A24 movie Zola. I'm going to have a first question, which is very simple for both of you, and start with Pierre-Marie. How did you become a music supervisor?
It's a long story, but I started studying architecture, in fact, and music. And one day, after different experience, somebody called me to supervise a soundtrack on an African movie called Waga Saga, because I love this music in West Africa, and I thought it was incredible to do this job, so I create my company the same year, starting produce artists, publishing artists, and supervise music for film and series.
And Jen, how did your career start? It was also a kind of an happy accident, I would say.
Yeah, this is my second career. I used to be a publicist for rock bands. And after doing that for many years, got really burnt out and saw the movie Iron Man and the music supervisor credit rolled by. And I said, okay, that's what I do. I want to be a music supervisor. So I moved out here and started from the bottom as an intern and just worked my way up to a coordinator, and the rest is history.
And it's quite interesting because the new generation of music supervisors arriving now on the market, I would say, are kind of approaching this job differently. They have it as a career goal. Actually, it's something that you've noticed, right? Pierre-Marie, maybe.
Yeah, when I started like 15 years ago, and it was really in France, nobody was doing this job really. And we create the association of the music supervisor in France 2 years ago, and we are like 15 companies, and we don't know each other. It's very different in the US because a long time ago we can say that this job exists in the industry. And the young people starting now, there's no school in France, but it's more professional because they can work with us. And in the labels, in the publishing company, you have a special department for synchronization and for supervision. So they start to learn better than us. For all the companies in the ISM, the association, everybody starts with different profession, like Jen, you know, or we have lawyers, we have musicians, we have architects, we have different people, but everybody loves music. But it was very artisanal, the way to learn this job.
Jen, in the US, you have now music supervisor programs in universities, right?
Yeah, there's when I came out here, UCLA Extension School, or UCLA has an extension school, and they do have a music supervision class. But now I think that there's schools where you can get like your 2-year certifications in, or, I don't know if it's your master's degree in music supervision. If that's the case, I strongly suggest you take that money and you intern to learn the business, because there's so many nuances to this business that you learn by doing it. But there are classes, and the class that I did helped quite a bit, but it was nothing. It didn't compare to the real life experience of interning and working with the mentor.
Just going back to that subject of the guild that was created in France in 2020, as you said, you were the first president of the ASM Guild in France. Why did the music supervisors in the country decide to unite?
It was very simple. We need to help each other. It's a very complex job and many things to do in terms of legal issue, technical issue, many things. And we didn't know each other because we are very different, in fact, and we are working 22 hours a day. And we thought it was a good idea to join, to talk about all our problem of what we want to share. And also it was important for us to work to improve the health of the ecosystem, because we are not alone. There are sound engineers, music editors, orchestra, musicians, many people. It's like a little production in the production, the music. And in France, we have problem with that. We don't have big studios. We don't record that much the orchestra here. And it was important for us to testify about that to all the music film industry.
In the US, Jen, you also have the GMS Guild, which is important for you. Can you tell us more about the importance of the guild?
Yeah, back, I guess maybe it's been 10 years that the guild has been in existence. A bunch of music supervisors who are, some of the best in the business. They're our icons, and the people that have just really paved the way for this job. They came together and they created the Guild of Music Supervisors, which I think is the same reason, is that we all need to support each other and just kind of like honor our craft and support our craft and advocate for our craft. And so, so it's grown. I mean, I think I remember the first Guild of Music Supervisors Awards was like a dinner. And now it's like at the Ace Hotel and a giant production. But the Guild is wonderful. They've been doing so much for the members and for the community and for people that want to get into music supervision. It's a great place to just learn and watch their panels on YouTube and stuff like that. So the Guild is a huge asset to our community.
And you also have 2 Emmy nominations for Atlanta and Euphoria. Is the industry recognition important for you?
Say it again?
Is industry recognition important for you? Are like Emmy nominations, like the presence of the music supervisor branch in the Emmys, is it important?
I mean, I think this is going to be, I think, the 6th or 7th year that we've had an Emmy category for music supervision, and I think it's of course, it's very it's very exciting and very honored to have been nominated and just to be a part of it. But it's more about other people in our industry acknowledging what music supervisors do and the contributions that we make to the storytelling. And of course, yes, to like I said, to be nominated, but to have that as part of the television academy as a whole is huge, because I think that people just don't really understand what we do and why we are essential to any and every production.
So let's get to the heart of the matter. I would say, how do you both work with producers? It's pretty different actually between France and the US. Pierre-Marie, for instance, you cover a lot of aspects of the production of music in movies. You work both with composers and also for additional music, right?
Yes, a lot. I work really. Well, most of my work is working on original music to help the composers. Sometimes starting by cast the composer himself or herself. I say him or her because in France we only have 6% of women composer. It's not a lot, so most of the time, and it's better like this. The director know with which composer you want to work with, but sometimes no. So we are here to help. I'm not an agent, for example. I really want to have the possibility to help them to choose the right one, and after that we can help, to organize the production of the music. Sometimes to help them to communicated with the director and the composer, and it's I know it's not like this really in the US. And the other part of the job, it's search and clear all the additional music, which is a big part of the job. But I think it's because of it's a younger job here, profession, and also because of the budget. So when a producer call us to help work on a movie, he or she give us a fee, a budget for all the music, and we have to deal with that, original and additional music. I don't know, Jen will answer, but I think in the US it's split, and you really have the one who is in charge of additional music and the team of the composer who work with him about the original music.
Yeah, Jen, it's a quite a different situation in the US, right? You work mostly, on additional music.
So, I mean, I think it's important for everybody to understand kind of like, what we do. And essentially, we oversee every aspect of music in a production. So if there's any element of music, whether it's something being sung on camera, somebody quoting lyrics, something that's scripted in, you have to get the rights for that. And you have to get the rights to that before you shoot. If there is, a band playing on screen, or if there is, a string quartet, that is all the music supervisor. We are the head of the department. And in our case, I work mostly in television. The music supervisor needs to start at the beginning, at the script stage, and especially if music is important to the directors and the producers, that's something that you need the music supervisor on right at the very beginning. Because at the end of the day, we'll save you money rather than going back and having to clean everything up, I promise. So we start at the script stage, working through production, making sure that everything is cleared before you shoot, as well as starting to help the editors put together the episodes with providing existing music. But then also, if there is original songs, we help with those and with the soundtrack. Now, the score is something that is different, and I think this is where US and French music supervisors kind of diverge a little bit, in that the composer very much works with their score. And sometimes different music supervisors work differently, and each production is different. But for the shows and films that I worked on, we are a little bit separate, but sometimes the worlds will collide. Like, for example, with Euphoria at the end of season 1, there was a giant musical number that Labyrinth, our composer, wrote. So that in that case, we worked very closely together to get that track created per Sam Levinson, our showrunner's vision. But it cannot be underestimated how important, if music is important to your production, we are important. And your line item, your budget needs to be a priority for your production. Again, if music is just, like something to just ancillary character, that's wonderful. But I don't think anybody nowadays will say that music is unimportant to their production, especially with some of the work that's been coming out and the music as a character. And I just think that it's very important for the producers and the filmmakers and the directors that are in the audience today to not underestimate the importance that we have to fulfill your vision with the music and not get sued at the end of the day.
Some about the preparation, so it's very important to clear before shooting, for example, exactly what Jen said, but sometimes it's also technical problem. For example, when I work for Annette, for Léos Carax, we had to record an orchestra during the shooting, or to move Marion Cotillard in soprano, and how you do that. You know, you need to prepare that a lot, to think of how you record an orchestra with a camera, and those kind of questions are technical, artistic. We have to deal with budget, but the most important thing is to deal with the tempo of the production. We are really, you know, close to the planning, and it's a lot of work because maybe Jen can say that too, but we start with the script until the delivery of the mix. It could be like 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. But I know that we are doing our job well when we can anticipate a lot of the problems, like clearance, like technical issue on the shooting.
And especially with something like Annette, I mean, it's a musical. So your role is just, I mean, I haven't done a musical. It scares me too much. So bravo to you for handling something that is, you know, with the, you know, non-traditional singers singing and creating all of that original music and having it be so seamless on set. So bravo to you.
Thank you. And what is the biggest challenge on the project? I think you both told me that it's the budget, right?
Jen?
Yeah, I would definitely say the budget is very difficult to work with because I don't think people understand the value of music on a financial level. Music costs money. Music is a copyright. Copyrights cost money, and you know, there's just, again, music can be an afterthought, but then that's not, you know, that's not helpful to the cause. I would say for me personally, the other really big challenge, especially working in television, is the timeline. The deadlines are just, it's very intense and it's very fast. Working with film, you have a lot more time, but the deadlines are insane. But yes, I think clearance and productions not being properly budgeted are a huge industry-wide issue, because I think people might not, you know, even some of the big studios, I don't think that they want to kind of do this, you know, with the fact that music costs money, and, you know, they don't want to face the fact that just like if you want that location, you want that costume, you want that song, you need to be prepared to pay for it.
Yes, I have a quote by Jen. She said, "We can only work with what we have." That's exactly the problem. And it's worse in France because when we have the budget for the original music and additional music all joined together. So, for example, we start, you know, to talk with an agent, composer agent, about the, you know, the fee for the composer, and we don't know yet if it will be orchestra or electronic music or pop music, but we need a budget to produce the music. And for example, if the director want to buy a track by the Rolling Stone, then we don't have any money left for the rest. No, so it's kind of balanced, but it's very complicated, and we need to deal with that. So we need to go to see the director and say, maybe you will have, you know, it will be very bad for your original music if you buy this song. So we have to, you know, do this kind of choice with the director, with the producer. But the main problem is that the whole budget is too small.
And prices have been going up actually on music rights.
I think so. I don't know.
We've been seeing that. Yeah, we've been seeing that here in the past couple years. The rates have gone up, but our budgets kind of stay the same. So there's really no. So it's very difficult, and you know what is good about working in the States as opposed to France is that we have a budget for source music, for existing music, for music that will be licensed, and then the composer has their own budget to do what they need to do. And then there's a separate fee for us as music supervisors, because again, we are the head of a department. The costume designer does not have a budget for costumes, and their fee is included in that. Those are two separate, you know, same thing with the lighting designer, or, you know, we should not be any different than any of those other departments.
And Pierre-Marie, you also are a big promoter of original music. You said earlier it's getting more and more difficult to make original music for films in France.
Yeah, well, I really think that if you have a unique special music, it will be better for the movie itself. We're all fighting to do piece of art. That's a goal, and to do that, there are many things. Money is very important, sure, but also the time that we live to a composer, the place we live to a composer. He is or she is the third author of a movie, and it's how we listen. It's not only the music, but what he or she can give to the story. We have. You can have surprise. Sometimes, you know, they have to. They could. We have to give them the option to do mistakes, to do, try something with the music. I remember when I worked on I Lost My Body with Dan Levy from The Doe, with an animation movie, a beautiful movie. And at the beginning, Dan, the composer, he started working with an electronic piano. It was a flute like this, and it's at the end it's the main theme of the movie. But when the first time the director listened to this music, he said, "I don't like it. It's because it was with the idea of his movie during 4 or 5 years, and the music could be so strong, so he thought it was not the good one." And he's very clever and very sensitive director, and it took like 1 month thinking about that, re-listen it, and at the end he come back and he said, it's the good music for my movie. And I know Dan won the César here, and it was the music when he went on stage. And it's very important, this kind of feeling, the place you give to the music. It's also how you think it, you know. So after come the problem of money, of planning and everything. But it's very important to think of, at the beginning, that music will be a lead role of the movie. And I can feel that sometimes it's not the case.
And for additional music also as well, it can be a challenge to clear the rights. Jen, you have experienced some difficulty to clear rights for some older songs, for example, right?
Yeah, you know, it can be, yeah, clearance is very, very difficult, especially when you have, you know, shows like Atlanta and Euphoria that have so much music into each episode, and some of it is very obscure or esoteric, and you have to, you know, find the rights holders, and it's, you know, because you have to have 100%. So for example, there'll be times when, you know, a lot of the times in hip hop where there's a sample of a song that's some random 45 that somebody found in, you know, in a flea market or something, and so you have to find the owner of that, or, you know, you have to find that writer that has 0.5%. I got one song for Atlanta where the artist was in jail, and thank God he had a manager who was able to take the paperwork to the artist in jail for him to sign off to give the approval. So I've been through the ringer on several, you know, songs where you just have to kind of, you know, become a detective to find this, because the last thing that we want to do is tell our director, no, we can't use this song because I can't find someone or I can't clear it. So we really have to, go quite far and, like I said, become a detective and look at obituaries and other really shady things like that to try and find people to get in touch with them to clear.
And I'm curious to know how streaming platforms have changed the work for you. Obviously, they work on a global scale. Has it made clearing rights and license music more difficult?
The thing is, I work most of the time for movies, but I did some series for Netflix, Amazon, and now for HBO with Olivier Assayas. The thing is that it's more the problem was at the beginning because of the different copyright system that you have in the US and here in France or in Europe with the droit d'auteur and those kind of things. So at the beginning, the contract was very American, and it's normal. And it was complicated for us to ask, the composer to sign this kind of contract because it was against the law here. But we find solution together. We know the music supervisors, the composers, the agents, some lawyers, and now it's okay for everybody to work together on this kind of subject. And for me, the platform helped the situation of the music in movies in France because they consider a lot the place of the music. We can hear that when we hear Euphoria, for example, and it's good for us because we can say, look, if you like this movie or this series, it's also because of the music, and it helps us in the negotiation of the budget. Sure.
But there's a question of rights on a global scale. Jen, they have to clear the rights for a long time.
Yeah, so the terms that we clear for television are all media excluding theatrical, and that protects us from, years ago in shows like Felicity and the Wonder Years, they were only clearing for television, not knowing that, Blu-ray or streaming was even going to be a thing. So for us, we're kind of, the industry is kind of settled on all media excluding theatrical. Obviously, for films, it would be, all media including theatrical. But sometimes, with certain productions, we have to limit the rights. So perhaps, it's an independent film and there's not a lot of money. You would get, 1 year festival only, and that will have a reduced fee. So it's very, there's different ways to work the budget, but, to work the clearances, but, usually you just want to get all media. And then worldwide would be the second part of the terms. And again, that can sometimes be, worked, like I said, like festival or North America festival only, or something like that. And then normally we'll clear for perpetuity, because you don't want to have to, in 5, 10, 20 years, when those rights expire, who's going to go back and clear music from something from 20, 30 years ago?
That's right. What is very tricky in France right now is that the use was to deal for 15 or 30 years. And now with platform, it's like the very long, as you say, perpetuity in the US is a bit different in France, but it's very long time. And what
you can't actually get the perpetuity rights in France, right? You have to.
No, you have to have a date, but we have like the maximum that we can have with our law. It's a bit the same, a bit different. And but the problem is that when we deal with the labels and publishers, and we pass from 30 years, for example, to kind of perpetuity, it's normal. They say it's more expensive, but we have the same budget. So it means for the composer, there are some composer here, for the budget for the production, to record the music, to, you know, I was telling about the ecosystem, the music, the studios and everything. It's really a problem because additional music start to be more expensive, and it's really complicated. I think it's a period, because in few years it will be the same. I think so. There's 30 years in perpetuity, but now the prices are different, and the producers, they don't know that. They don't know that because you know, they ask, they have the same budget. It's hard to produce, to find the money, but we have to buy them. It's not the same price to buy for 30 years and perpetuity.
And also I just want to say that that makes no sense, because then in 30 years that production company is gonna, like I said, you know, have to rescore the music or go re-clear it. I really hope personally that like I work on, you know, films now, I don't want to have to in 30 years go back and re-clear it, and then who knows how expensive that's going to be. So it's that's just very interesting. So it needs to be thought of at first. You know, you have to think of long game, especially if you believe and want your film to be timeless and to be you know, remembered and the film have the legacy, you know. So the music is only going to be good for 15 years? Yeah, I don't understand that.
I have one maybe final question. What advice would you give producers when they think about the music of the film? What is the main advice?
I will tell them again how music is important for a movie. As I told you, I think it's really important to think of this special subject at the beginning. It's like a lead role. So who will be the composer? Why? Really why? It's very important, because if you start working with somebody not well chosen, you can 6 months later say it starts to be a nightmare, because you are in the post-production doing many different things, and if it's not the good music, it's a problem. So we really need to take the time, and I know it's not the case most of the time, to have special meeting at the beginning. It's been with the script and seeing what will be the music, and even when you don't know, you know, what kind of music you want, try to talk about that, and then everything will be easier, and we'll find the good budget for that. We have to start much earlier, you know. It's at the same time then you're looking for your main actors and actresses. The composer is very important in a movie. And no, that's the main thing we have to think of.
And Jen, what advice would you give producers?
I agree with everything you said. I think if you know, and I say this kind of, you know, in a way like, well, if music is important to you, of course music is important to every production. And if that is the case, it needs to be, you need to bring on the music supervisor, again, the head of the department, the head of, you know, costumes and, you know, makeup and every department. The music supervisor should be as vital to the production as every other department, and properly budgeted. If, you know, again, having a composer, having a separate line item for a composer, having a separate line item for licensed music. And that's something that, working with the supervisor at the beginning, you can figure out what that budget is. You can make sure that you are budgeting properly, because that's our job, is to tell you, okay, well, if you really want this Rolling Stone song, and if this is something that is, you know, imperative to the story and to the narrative, you need to budget for that now, because obviously I don't think anybody, you know, if everybody knows that the Rolling Stones are going to be expensive. Like, that's no joke, and that's no, you know, myth. I think everybody, if you don't know that, then you might want to revisit certain things. So having us on at the very beginning to help work with creating the budget, to help foresee any problems, because our job is to fulfill the vision of the director or the showrunner for television, and you can't do that kind of without the people that know the ins and outs and that have those relationships and that can call, our counterparts in France and say, I need covers of, old 70s with female, help out. So to kind of get us on at the beginning and properly budget and understand that there is a very intense business behind this job, and there's lots of nuance and in and out. But again, it needs to be, music cannot be an afterthought anymore, because I think in every production now, every time everybody wants their music to sound like Euphoria. Well, Euphoria, the conversation happens when Sam is writing the script. So I think that nowadays this is important, and so it cannot be an afterthought, and our job cannot, a music supervisor's job cannot be taken for granted or being thought of as something that that anybody can do. And I just think that like I said, we just need to be brought on as soon as possible to help, because at the end of the day, if we come in late, everything's just going to be twice more expensive anyway, because we're going to be cleaning up messes. So
yeah, you once told me don't get your music from YouTube, right?
no, definitely not. That's the thing, is that you have to make sure you're clearing the right version. It happened a couple times on Atlanta this season where we wanted to use a certain song, but one of the assistant editors just went and grabbed it off of YouTube, and it was some, remix or something that couldn't even be licensed. So we have to make sure that we're getting the correct rights. And so, yeah, don't ever grab something off of YouTube. You're just asking for trouble. I promise you're just asking for trouble.
And even if you can secure the rights, you also sometimes have to re-record the music. It's something that happens.
Yeah. Well, that's why we have to clear it at the beginning. Then we have to be sure that if we record it, we have the rights to use it. So it's what Jen said before. It's very important. And the clearance right now is very complicated. I think we really need time, because it's hard, to the communication with the labels, publisher, and then with the artist. I don't have all the artists in jail like Jen, but it's very complicated right now with the pandemic and everything to join the people. In fact, so we need time, and the post-production are shorter and shorter. That's a problem with platforms. And it's important to know that, because so to talk about music, it means the music for the shooting, but also those problems of additional music for the post-production very early, because we need time to clear everything.
I think it's important also just for everybody to remember that you can have the most perfect song in the world to fit your scene. It's the perfect marriage of music to picture. But if you can't clear it and you can't afford it, you cannot use it.
It's very easy.
Okay, well, thank you for both of you for being here with us today. That's all the time that we have.
Thank you, Jen. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank
I'm
you,
going
Daniel.
back.
Merci.
Bye, everybody. Merci.